Experience the future of packaging and processing up close and in action. Explore groundbreaking innovations, engage with hands-on solutions, and connect with the experts transforming the industry. See how these advancements can revolutionize your products, production lines, and business. It all starts here. Don't miss out. Register today at packexpolasvegas.com/unpackedpod. You're listening to Unpacked with PMMI, where we share the latest packaging and processing industry insights, research, and innovations to help you advance your business. Hi, and welcome to another edition of Unpacked with PMMI. I'm your host, Sean Riley, Senior Director for Media and Industry Communications for PMMI. And today we're going to add a little international flavor to the podcast with a dive into what is taking place in the Mexican packaging machinery market, the trends that have driven recent growth, and what we can expect in the near future. Our guest is Luis Dominic, Managing Director for Mila Consulting. And as someone who has heard Luis speak many times on the Mexican market, every year when I attend Expo Packs in Guadalajara and Mexico City, I can assure you that Luis will not dance around the issues. He is candid in laying out the ways that the economic and political climates affect business on both sides of the border. With that, welcome to the podcast, Luis.
Thank you very much, Sean.
I guess we can jump right into it. Packaging machinery demand in Mexico has seen important growth in recent years. Packaging machinery imports passed 590 million in 2015 and have grown to 750 in 2019. So in 4 years, up 240, almost 250 million. Can we expect this growth to continue into the future?
Well, Sean, as you know, there was a government change in Mexico. A new administration took office on December 1st of 2018. So the new government has been in place for 9 months. And this new government comes from a new political party with a completely different view of the economic issues and the economic model that should apply to Mexico. This has brought a lot of nervousness to the market, and many companies are placing on hold investments to see how the government performs and how these changes that they're implementing impact the packaging machinery market. Last year, we had 6 months since the president was elected until he took office, and the packaging machinery market remained strong. We closed 2018 with 750 million in imports, which is 1 million less than the previous year.
Oh, okay.
So we're not seeing that explosive growth that occurred during 2015, 16, and 17. It, in fact, slowed down a little bit in 2018. But we have not either seen a contraction or a decrease in imports. As mentioned, there's a lot of nervousness in the market. I was checking the import statistics for Mexico, and during the first 6 months of the year, packaging machinery imports decreased 8% compared to the first 6 months of 2018. However, we see some interesting trends, like primary packaging machinery imports increased 22%, and secondary packaging machinery imports had a significant decrease, almost 40% in value during the first 6 months of the year. So this also shows the nervousness that is happening in the country. So what I can say is we cannot expect this explosive growth that occurred during the last 5 years will continue, at least in 2019, that is the first year of government. But we can expect a little bit of recovery in the following years.
So it seems you said that there's a couple markets though where the machinery is going up a bit. So it seems that basically everyone's holding on to their money, but some areas might be going up a little bit, but the other ones are going down. So it's sort of staying even. Would that be fair to say?
That would be a very fair assessment.
Okay. So then, with the political scenario the way it is, and obviously playing a role in investment decision making, you've kind of touched on it already, but why is it just a consistent thing with the Mexican machinery and the Mexican market in general where politics becomes so important and play, what are the concerns from the business community in regards to, this new regime that's taken over? Like, what are they holding back? What are their concerns?
Well, in Mexico, we have elections every 6 years, and we have seen that every election year, we have presidential elections every 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we have seen that the year that we have elections, packaging machinery imports contract a little bit. So this is something common. The main difference now is that the government that took office comes from a new political party with a completely new economic model. They are implementing changes in many different areas of the economic arena and also from the political standpoint. So, usually, when I interview companies to do these packaging machinery research studies,
Mm-hmm.
we talk about consumer confidence, GDP growth, etc. Right now, we only talk about politics. The new administration came in with a very tight fiscal discipline. They are cutting government spending everywhere where they can. And this has impacted, of course, GDP growth. Our economy has practically not grown during 2019. We have a contraction of 0.2% in the first quarter, surplus of 0.1% in the second quarter. So we don't see GDP growth, and that's bad for an emerging economy like Mexico. But there are also very positive signs, like the government operating in black numbers, the inflation is controlled, the exchange rate is fairly stable. So despite we're not growing, we're seeing stability, and that uh, is translating into more confidence among investors. Also, something very important is that the new administration came in with a series of social programs where they are basically giving money to the least favored segments of the population. So, uh, uh, poor people, elderly people, handicapped people are receiving money or at least tax breaks from the government. And all those funds at the end, they go to consumption.
Okay.
So that's favorable. And I believe that if there are no major changes in taxes or things like that, we will see the Mexican economy return to the growth path, moderate growth in the following years.
Okay. With that, having said that, the government has kind of controlled their spending. Is that affecting sort of larger infrastructure projects that would then affect business? Have things slowed down in terms of roads, airports, transportation, that type of thing that might affect business, or has that not really happened?
Yes, there's where the biggest impact is. If you see the construction sector
Okay.
is the one that has suffered most during the 9 months that this administration has been in office. Uh, so the government has not only cut on infrastructure projects or things like that, they also cut on government official wages, and they made significant cuts there. The things that government officials could or were receiving like transportation, bodyguard, security. Makes sense for several government positions, but in some others they were excessive, right? So they're also cutting on that. And the government has some priority projects that include the construction of a new refinery, the construction of what is called the Mayan Railroad, that is a 1,000-kilometer railroad in the southeast of Mexico. And as you know, they canceled the construction of the Mexico City airport, which had a significant impact not only in the construction sector, but in the perception of
Mm-hmm.
security for investment among the business community. So I would say that the biggest impact of the cancellation of that airport was the impact that it had in the business community of Mexico. Now, government is conscious of that, and they have made some efforts
Right.
to build trust among the business community. Cannot say that they have done so very well, or that they have achieved a lot in building confidence among the business community. But what I can say is that they're working in that direction.
Okay. Now for the the wages that have increased, that they've spread to the kind of the lower end of the social economic scale. Are those things that they're expecting to keep doing in the coming years? And if so, or if not, how do you think that's going to impact packaging machinery sales going forward?
Well, as you know, they increased the new administration took office, and one of the first things that they did was increasing the minimum wage in 16% and the minimum wage in the border area in 100%. The first was welcomed and really well accepted among the business community. It's a reality that minimum wages in Mexico were not sufficient to maintain the most humble household.
Okay.
So an increase in minimum wages was necessary, and it was welcomed by the business community. 100% increase in the border zone in a single event had a significant impact in labor-intensive businesses in the area. So we're expecting that the government will continue increasing the minimum wage above inflation, but not as strongly as it did on the first year in government. We see these minimum wage increases as something positive because they also translate into consumption. People making minimum wage, they could barely afford their groceries. So now with this increase, all their spending doesn't go to luxury things. It goes to basic things like food, beverage, uh, pharmaceutical products, and, um, and that will translate into increased demand for packaging machinery in the midterm. Also, another positive thing of these minimum wage increases is that those companies where they see that the load of wages on their operations become something heavy or important, they will look for automation. Um, and that's also positive for packaging machinery. In Mexico, if you see the large multinationals, they are highly automated plants. But if you see the medium-sized food, beverage, and personal care companies, they have several manual processes that could easily be done by packaging machinery, and they were not even considering using machinery because of the capital cost.
Right.
Uh, so wages were so low that it was more convenient to have well, people palletizing boxes rather than having a palletizing machine. With these wage increases, several of these activities, the cost of labor will become more significant for several of these activities. So we expect that will translate into further demand for especially secondary packaging machinery in the midterm.
So basically, the wages increased, as you explained, making it more cost effective now for them to buy this automated machinery, which I guess in turn might replace some of the people who got their wage increases to begin with.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We know, there's always things going on in our presidency up here in the U.S. in regards to Mexico. Mexico has ratified the USMCA, but the U.S. or Canada have yet to come on board and ratify the agreement. How is this impacting, especially the packaging machinery market?
Well, the impact of the changes from NAFTA to the USMCA, especially for packaging machinery, are minimal. Um, while the new agreement has not been ratified by the US or Canadian government, NAFTA is still in place. So companies can continue shipping machinery to Mexico free of duties. And when the new agreement enters into place, the machinery will continue without duties. So there's practically no change. Where there are some changes is, for example, in software and in intellectual property and things like that, that they were not very well addressed by the previous agreement. And with the new agreement, those will be more closely monitored. So companies who were selling packaging machinery that was manufactured in the US, but that had a software developed in China, now that component of the software will have to pay duties.
And that's also a case, as you said, that if some automation does increase a little bit, that's going to be things that have a lot more software in it. So they also could be affected by this.
As long as if those programs are made in places like India, China, or Eastern Europe. As you know, Mexico has free trade agreements with 71 countries. So, other than India, China, Southeast Asia, and Eastern Europe, we have free trade agreements with the majority of the economies in the world. So as long as these software components are not made in those countries where we don't have trade agreements, free trade agreements, they will not see an impact.
Okay. Now I know that the biggest drivers, at least the last couple times I've heard you speak, have been in terms of driving packaging machinery sales in Mexico has been beer and beverage on a as a larger segment, but beer specifically with Constellation and other companies building big facilities and big breweries. Now that they've done that, is this something that this trend's going to continue, or have they put the large investment in and now it'll kind of level off? For the first time, PMMI members and Pack Expo exhibitors can gain a true insight into the competitive marketing landscape within the packaging and processing industries. See real data from PMMI Media Group campaigns on engagement from validated, verified end users, including the amount of captured leads and even how Pack Expo booth visits align with pre-show marketing. You'll also get a full view of campaign strategies in market across all 12 months for competitors in your product category with variations by channel. This kind of intel has never been available before. Request your custom competitive analysis report now at pmmi.media/CAR. That's pmmi.media/CAR.
Well, we're expecting for 2019 and 2020 the beer sector to continue being a strong driver for beer investments. Grupo Modelo, as you know, it was split in two. So Constellation Brands has to invest in in new brewing capacity to serve the U.S. market. They have had challenges with a 5,000 hectoliter plant that they're building in Mexicali. It seems that the challenges are resolving on favor of Constellation Brands, so they continue with the construction, and the equipment will begin occurring late this year or in 2020. So from there, we're expecting to continue seeing uh, uh, the beer industry as a strong driver for packaging machinery exports into Mexico. Um, the other part of Grupo Modelo that produces Corona beer for the rest of the world and that was acquired by AB InBev, they made the necessary investments to supply the current demand, but their plans are not to stay there. Their plans are to grow, to continue growing internationally and make Corona beer a leading beer all over the world. So it will depend on their marketing efforts and on their capacity to increase demand for Corona internationally. If they need more investment or not. Right now, they have invested enough to cover at least for the following 5 years. And by the other hand, Heineken, they have not made such aggressive investments in one at a time, but they are constantly making investments in upgrading facilities and building new, smaller facilities than those of Corona. But we're expecting there to continue seeing a dynamic market, at least for the following 2 years.
Okay. And another thing that I know I've heard you speak of this year at Expo Pack, and others may know just from international news, is Mexico has essentially declared a war on plastics. Several cities have banned plastic straws. I know that's happened a bit in the U.S. as well. Other cities plan to and are addressing and banning the use of plastic bags for packaging groceries. Do you see this trend expanding, and is it something that you think is going to impact retail packaged products going into the future?
Yes, definitely. Mexico has, as you mentioned, declared war on plastic. You cannot practically find straws anywhere in any restaurant in Mexico, while they were very, very popular. Now the supermarkets are banning the use of plastic bags to carry your groceries. So they are selling fabric bags, and they are expecting people to bring their bags to pack their groceries. As it has happened in some countries in Europe, these trends later expand to the products that are packed in the supermarkets. We have seen in recent years a big trend for packed vegetables, value-added proteins, and products that used to be sold in bulk that are now sold pre-packed. In many supermarkets in Europe, they have banned the use of plastic in vegetables, for example, and they are returning to bulk. Now, here, what authorities need to be very careful is to see what do they address. Are they going to mandate companies to use um, biodegradable plastics, or they are going to ban the use of plastics at all? Um, and if they ban the use of plastics, people need to pack their vegetables, especially those that are little, in something, right? So are they expecting people to carry their fabric bags or something like that to the supermarket? So it's something that we have not gotten there yet, but it's definitely a trend that is occurring all around the world. And also not only in packed vegetables or proteins, we have seen a return of glass to several beverages, and and packed groceries. So I believe that an effort has to be made in terms of packaging, but also a big effort needs to be done in terms of recycling. Uh, it doesn't help a lot to ban the use of plastics if there are not facilities to recycle other materials. And plastics, in most of the plastics, are able to be recycled. So I believe it's an effort that has to be done not only from the point of sale, but also from garbage collection and garbage separation, and building enough capacity so all those plastics are captured and recycled.
Right. Is this something that the consumer is welcoming, or is it an aggravation that they're doing away with the plastics? I know some people are gonna, that are more environmentally, uh, lean more environmentally, are going to be happy about it. But as a whole, are consumers happy with this, or is it something that's causing them headaches?
I mean, there's a big division between the people who says that banning the use of plastic bags in the supermarkets, what will cause is that people will end up buying their plastic bags and bringing them to the supermarket. Other people had a second or third use for those plastic bags that were handed out at the supermarkets. Many people were using it, I don't know, to pick up the poops of their pets, right? Some people were using them as garbage bags.
Right, they're free bags, they can you have for other uses.
Exactly. So people are saying now I would have to purchase bags for those other uses, so it will end up being the same.
Right.
I think the key there is to generate enough recycling capacity to set up an adequate structure so plastics are properly set at the point of garbage generation.
That's great stuff, Louis. I wish we had more time so we could dive into some more questions, but you've really hit on a bunch of things for people to think about who are looking to invest into the Mexican market. For those of you listening out there, thank you once again for listening to Unpacked with PMMI. Be sure to tune in next time for more packaging and processing industry insights. Please rate, review, and subscribe. To do that, go to the iTunes podcast or Spotify app on your phone and search for Unpacked with PMMI.